Heather Chandler, Heather McNamara, Heather Duke, Veronica Sawyer.
Why are you such a mega brat?
Because I can be.
The most powerful clique at Westerberg.
God, Veronica, drool much?
Most people would die to get into it.
Heather number one just looked right at me.
I'm worshipped Westerberg, and I'm only a junior.
Veronica would kill to get out of it.
You were nothing before you met me. You were a Girl Scout cookie.
JD has come to answer her prayers.
I'm a no-rest build-up man myself.
Well, kill her.
He's got a way with women. A way with words.
Is this as good for you as it is for me?
Life and sound.
And a very special way with a gun. Veronica can't live with him.
Now!
I love my dead gay son.
And she can't live without him.
Is this turnout weak or what?
I had at least 70 more people at my funeral. What?
Their meeting was destiny.
That knife is filthy.
What do you think I'm gonna do with it? Take out her tonsils?
Their love has a body count.
Loved you. It's coming up here to kill you.
That's it. We're breaking up. Young love.
Heather's, a killer comedy.
I'm gonna have to send my SAT scores to San Quentin instead of Stanford.
Scott and I had a good show yesterday.
Awesome.
Considering all of the malfunctions that occurred during, I mean, it took like 2 hours, but it was fun. Just, talking about our favorite movies from Christmas of the 80s and stuff. And as always, I'm always pulling something out of the archives that nobody ever heard of.
Well, that's always fun.
Well, yeah, but he got I let him I knew it. Somebody's going to do the mainstream stuff because I'm not going to do that because we all know, everybody's watched it sometimes.
Right.
It's not like one of those things like with Ernest Saves Christmas. I could throw a rock and maybe 2 miles away I might hit somebody that
Right.
has actually seen it. Whereas, in Scott's case, he said he hadn't, so, which is fine.
Yeah, so I mean, you probably got a lot of talk about Christmas Vacation and A Christmas Story,
Mm-hmm.
The biggies, so.
Yeah, and he was flabbergasted that, I was not a fan of The Christmas Story. So.
I cannot wait to hear that. That's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right.
It's like, how is it possible that everybody in the world loves that movie except you? I'm like, I don't know. I sincerely don't think I'm the only one, but.
Well, it would have been one of those moments that had I been on with you guys, that you probably would have got 2 gasps, like I did for not seeing The Great Outdoors.
Yeah.
So.
I tell him that was my Christmas Roadhouse. So. He liked that.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I don't know how you want to do this. You want to just, talk about like Christmas when you were a kid, because Christmas when you were a kid is in the 80s and Christmas when I was a kid is in the 60s, but.
Well, I mean, does it have to be a Christmas theme or can we just go like with another icon or?
Oh no, it doesn't have to be a Christmas theme. I don't want to say I'm all Christmased out, but I've got an idea for the blog for this month to be, Christmas horror movies. But
oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I go with a darker theme because Christmas holidays has a tendency to be, a little rough for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
So otherwise they wouldn't have things like Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Black Christmas. So.
Yeah, I'm thinking, we should probably just, do an icon then. No matter which one.
Yeah, totally up to you. You're the hostess with the mostest, so. I can I could easily pull up somebody. I mean, who haven't we done yet?
Oh, there's tons of people we haven't done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you always like doing, the ladies. Try and get their fair share of.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's bring up 80s actresses. Let's see who we get here in the. Alright, you can't do that within IMDb, but if you Google it, then you get the list.
I know, it's crazy.
These actresses. And then we want to hit on one that, isn't going to be that big of a deal for Scott missing it.
Oh, yeah, he's a dude.
Let's see. Deborah Winger, Kathleen Turner, Michelle Pfeiffer, Vanity, Meg Ryan, Pam Grier, Linda Carter, Jodie Foster, Catherine Bach, Elizabeth Shue, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Winona Ryder.
Oh, he's gonna probably lose it if we do that.
You think so?
I'm a big fan of her.
You are not, or he is?
No, I didn't say that. Don't you dare! I didn't say that. I said, Isn't he a big fan of her?
I don't think so. We never brought her up before.
Oh, I thought we did.
Well, if we did, I don't remember his reaction.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going down the list. Whoopi Goldberg. I don't think he'd care about that one.
I'm not a fan of Whoopi.
You're not a fan of Whoopi. Yeah. Drew Barrymore?
Who?
Drew Barrymore?
Drew Barrymore. I like Drew.
Okay. I'm trying to stay away from the sincerely gorgeous ones because that would definitely be. Oh, I loved her. If we did Linda Hamilton, he'd be all butthurt about that because of the Star Trek. Listen to me, Terminator stuff. All that Star Trek stuff she was in. Oh my God, Jennifer Grey doesn't even look like herself. He's right.
Yeah, she's definitely different.
Can't do Kelly Preston.
Oh my God, I would love to talk about Kelly Preston.
Shelley Long, Kirstie Alley, Elizabeth Perkins, Lori Singer can do her. Jessica Lange. I don't know. She's so big now in American Horror Story. There's somebody, Kelly Lynch, I don't know who she is. Glenn Close, Rebecca De Mornay, Rachel Ward. Is that all she was in? Gosh.
Who are you looking at?
Natasha Kinski. Honestly, I only know the one movie she was in. Cat People.
Yeah, it's tough when there's really only one or two movies to talk about.
Right. So do you want to talk about Winona? We can, and then we'll just take the flak for it later.
I am good with going Winona.
Okay.
I like her stuff, and
Love me.
Let me.
Not like we're doing Phoebe Cates or anything.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. That's cool.
Winona Ryder, IMDb. Let me look at this. Yeah, well, I mean, there's really, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movies in the 80s anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, she, 71. She's really held up over the years. That's awesome.
Yeah, but then we get to geek out about Stranger Things.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. I love that. I love that, she was cast in that because I know for the longest time she had such a hard time getting back into the mainstream after her little run-in with the law.
All right, let's do this.
Lord of Omens, give me sight beyond sight.
Greetings, Starfighter. You have been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier against Sur and the Kodan Armada. Get ready. Prepare for blast-off.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88. Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Remember, no matter where you go, there you are.
This is 80's Reboot Overdrive Podcast.
We were dancing just like Swayze when Jennifer Grey had nose. Oh, how I miss the 80s, but I'm too young to really know. Too young to know.
Oh my god. That is like so dated.
Alright, this is 80's Reboot Overdrive, and I am Dave. Online, I have got 80's music girl, Rose.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Now, Rose, did you realize that when I started doing the intro thing, my voice changed?
Yes, I did.
I get like all professional and stuff. Why do I do that?
Because you want to sound professional and entice more people to listen to our podcast.
Yeah, but I always leave like this stuff, our pre-conversation stuff, in when we're like talking normal, and then I change. I don't know why I do that. I don't want to sound phony.
Well, you don't sound phony. See, that's the problem.
Okay.
I do believe that, when we're doing a podcast, I mean, if you look at the stuff on TV, like Screen Junkies, Hal Rudnick, when he does, the interviews about the top 10, whatever, and he's got his guest hosts on there, and they're in his mom's basement or wherever he said they were at. He talks, he's like very animated, and he talks, he sucks you in, and he draws you in, and he's got you listening and everything. I met him in person. He actually is like that in real life. It's funny. It's just like, oh my God, I get to sit here and listen to you all day. But I think a lot of times when you do a podcast, there is an air of professionalism that you have to obtain in order to be able to draw your audience in and keep them, interested and keep them, animated. And, when we have those moments, sort of the downside of just conversating between the two of us, it's like, oh yeah, Dave's like all professional and stuff, but listen to this part. He sounds like a regular person just like me. Kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you really think like that Walter Cronkite talked like that all the time? I mean, come on.
No, not at all. But no, you probably got a point there. I'm just trying to think that, it's like once I do that intro, it feels like I change it up. And I'm like, how come I can't just do the intro like we're talking now? That's all.
I don't know.
Yeah. Because,
when Charlie does his, he's got like this big whole, hi, this is Charlie, blah, blah, blah. And he's I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, you're
dude,
talking to Charlie Esser from GammaCast.
Down a notch. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
realized that's a part of his intro, so I let him go. Let it go.
Yeah, roll with it.
He's grooving. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You got it.
All right, so we got way, way off topic there. But what we're doing is we're continuing our 80s Icon series, and this one we're going to be talking about the wonderful actress that is Winona Ryder.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did is we brought up IMDb. We're going to quickly read out her filmography for the 1980s, which started with a movie called Lucas in 1986. 1987, she was in a movie called Square Dance. 1988, Beetlejuice. 1988 again, she was in 1969. Then she wrapped up 1988 in Heathers. And then, 1989, she wrapped up the decade in Great Balls of Fire. So there's not a ton of content there, but the things that she was involved in, I mean, I think she played a very significant role. And then she's also very popular now for, the Netflix series Stranger Things. So I think we've got quite a bit to talk through.
I think we do.
but sticking to the 80s, which of those movies kind of jumped out for you?
Well, I'm gonna have to say Beetlejuice because truthfully, if I watched Lucas, it might have been like I want to say by accident, but it was probably one of those movies that I brought home for my children, to keep them quiet while I was doing the dishes or something, and I was like, oh hey, who's she? Kind of a thing, and I was pretty much familiar with Corey Haim and Charlie Sheen and all those other people that were in there.
Right.
But my favorite movie with her in it is Beetlejuice.
Okay. So what is it about Lydia that did it for you? Or what was your favorite scene in Beetlejuice with Lydia?
Oh, and it's so funny because I was just thinking about that the other day, and I'm not even sure how that popped into my head. But the fact that, to me, she played, not only was she I would say, quintessential drama queen teenager, but she kind of borderline goth. I want to say there wasn't a lot of that in the 80s. That was more into the 90s later on. So she was at a cutting edge teenager, with the whole, black veil and everything and the dark makeup and everything. So she had that going on. And in her complete and utter disdain for her stepmother, I relished that. I don't know why. I love Catherine O'Hara, but she was such a smurf in that movie. And she was so self-absorbed and just so narcissistic. And then, she just trying to make everything work and not making anything work. And, her husband apparently, had a nervous breakdown. So I'm sure she's the one that gave it to him.
Yeah.
And, it's just like they're sitting at the dinner table and they're having Chinese food. And she's like, Lydia's like, what's the matter? Doesn't this place have like Cantonese? I can't remember the style of food, that she's complaining about, the Chinese food. She says, I plan on overdosing from MSG from eating all this. Or she's going to do something, or she's eating all the MSG. She's afraid of, going and having a stroke or a heart attack or something. And, and just as a sincere dig at her stepmother's, ineptness at cooking, I suppose, providing actual real food. So, she obviously didn't want to be there in the first place. She obviously didn't want to move, what kid does. But, while she was there, she was planning on making her stepmother's life a living hell. It was pretty cool. Not that I was ever like that or anything.
Oh, no, there's a backstory there, but let's not go there.
Yeah, that's not.
But for like guys my age and maybe a little bit younger, there was something about Lydia, and I think it was the goth emo girl kind of thing that you didn't realize that you had a thing for. That's kind of what she personifies.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things where, in typical high schools you had, the cheerleaders and you had all those archetypes that you would see like from the Breakfast Club. But then you would, or other John Hughes movies or popular teen movies. But then you had a character like Lydia that just kind of broke that mold. And and there was just something about her that went, yeah, okay, she's cool, she's awesome.
Yeah.
But you didn't admit to it. And
right.
I mean, I don't know what it was. It was just one of those things that it was like, a guy like, a guy my age was just, attracted to that type, and you don't know why. It was hard to explain. It was just like, she's kind of really cool in a, really dark, morbid way.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of, and it went that way with girls too. The girls, when I went to high school, had, we'd see like what do you call them? Really into them, their own heads, and they're walking by with their heads down, and they don't look like the jocks, and they don't look like the stoners, but there's something going on there. You can see it, and then we're all like whispering about it and everything, and they're like super quiet, and they always read poetry and stuff like that. So
you know what it was? I think I may have figured out a little bit of it right here. Is I think it's the confidence. They had confidence in their own skin to be who they wanted to be, and they didn't conform to everyone else.
Exactly.
And I think something about that attracts, attracts people.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Yeah, so, all right, look at that. I just did a little bit of self-analyzation on myself to figure that one out. So.
Well done.
Thanks. But Beetlejuice, great pick. I like the final scene with her where she's getting a good grade on her test, and then they let her do the Harry Belafonte song.
Yeah.
Shake Shake Sonora. Yep. So
that's a good one.
Yep. So she did a really great job in that movie. And the movie that I wanted to pick on was the one that you breezed through quickly, was Lucas.
Oh, cool.
And the reason why I'm picking that one is a lot of the reason why I kind of picked Mischief for Jamie Gertz.
Mm-hmm.
Where Jamie Gertz played the type of person, the nice girl that was friends with the main character, and before the main character realized that was kind of the person that he should be with, he, embodied someone else as this perfect female. In this case, Lucas was Corey Haim, and he had this thing for the Carrie Green, who was also in the movie. But Winona Ryder was, a fellow band geek, nerdy type of person. So she was just kind of there on the sideline, and he didn't really give her enough, any time, because he was going for, the Carrie Green character. And then once things kind of fell apart with that, then, there was kind of this appreciation, that he picked up and said, yeah, I guess, in this case it was a character named Rena, who was Winona Ryder. Been there the whole time, been by my side, and it just makes sense. And, she's happy for me when I succeed, and she's there to console me when I'm messing up. So, it's, something to be said for that type of character archetype that I guess I relate to. As far as these 80's movies that we see, either be a Jamie Gertz or, in this case, Winona Ryder. And that's kind of what I saw out of that movie for Lucas.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Like I said, I probably saw it, but I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. It would be a nice one to revisit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cute movie. I mean, I'm not saying that, it's one of those, let's spend, let's put a dollar amount on it. I probably wouldn't go north of, let's say, $2.
Okay. That's good.
To see it, but it's like I said, it's a fun movie to revisit. And like I said, you've got Corey Haim, you've got Carrie Green, you got Charlie Sheen, Courtney Thorne-Smith. A lot of good names in that movie, and it's for a 80's teen movie. It that shows kind of the geeky side of things, as most of them do. This one was really centered around Corey Haim, being the geeky guy.
Yeah.
So, what you gotta like? You gotta love, anything that represents the nerds.
Definitely.
And, the fun part about that one for me also is just, Corey Haim trying out for the football team, and then suddenly this one bandmate of his runs into the band room and says, "Did you hear about Lucas? He's trying out for the football team. It's suicide." So it was just, it's hilarious. It's good stuff. So yeah, that's Lucas. you talked about Beetlejuice Square Dance. Is that anything that hit your radar?
No, I can honestly say I don't remember seeing that available because, like, I like to qualify movies when I've seen them in the 80s. If I saw them on a shelf at the video store and I didn't like the cover, didn't like the synopsis, I just kept going. And truthfully, that didn't really seem to grab my attention.
Well, looking at the cast, it seems like something that either one of us should have hit. Because you got
right.
Jason Robards, you got Rob Lowe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you figure that would have been something that would have been.
Well, and you could say that of Jane Alexander, of course.
Yeah.
You know, she's always good in things. But you could also say that about the next one, too, which really should have been on my radar, and it definitely wasn't. And that's 1969. Because that's got everybody in it.
Yeah, and that one didn't hit mine either.
So, yeah,
who's in 1969? What do we got here?
Oh, my God. Kiefer Sutherland and Robert Downey Jr., Bruce Dern, Mariette Hartley, Helena Cassidy.
That's a great cast.
So on and on and on. So, yeah. That would look like something I wouldn't mind, watching. Like, I would pay, like, maybe $3 to see that. Because not only does it have a good cast, but it also has an interesting storyline, too.
Well, it only got 5.8 out of 10 stars.
Yeah, but, I don't know. Maybe because the 80s was kind of flooded with Vietnam-era movies.
Right.
Perhaps. I don't know. I don't know how you can have too many of those, but maybe somebody thought that was the case. And maybe it also could have been poorly acted. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell. Yeah. IMDb is usually pretty good about, being just and fair in their ratings.
So then both of us haven't seen 1969 either. So then we're on to the last two, which are Great Balls of Fire and Heathers.
Yeah.
Great Balls of Fire did it for me. I really, for some reason, I've always had an appreciation. I guess what I'm trying to say is, the old style rock and roll stories.
Right.
So you've got like the Buddy Holly story. I was mesmerized by that. And now this was Jerry Lee Lewis, and you put that kind of story together, and that was arguably before my time. So there's a lot of those things that I didn't, I wasn't that aware of, even though there was a lot of drama that was going on with Jerry Lee and his cousin, I didn't know about that background of it until I saw the movie, and then I realized, oh wow, there's he was messing around with his cousin. Interesting.
Yeah. Actually, my grandmother told me that story before the movie even came out. She actually, I think he was on like either Ed Sullivan or one of those talk shows or something. I can't stand him. And I'm like, why? He's fairly talented. Oh no, he's just. I guess she said something that I can't repeat on the podcast, and I went, what? She's like, oh yeah, that stuff goes on all the time, and I'm just like, okay, well, let's change the subject. I really don't want to know. And honestly, I think I didn't watch the movie just because of that.
Oh, okay, so you hadn't seen that one.
No, she made him sound like he was a horrible person.
Yeah, well, I mean, granted, there's probably quite a bit there that's controversial about him, but
oh yeah,
and I liked his music, and I liked the cockiness of Jerry Lee Lewis. That doesn't mean I was out there, supporting somebody that was a bad person. I just, appreciate the music, appreciate the time frame of where he came up and popularity with his music.
Wasn't he self-taught too?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was quite, quite the musician in his own right.
Yeah.
And he could pull in some big crowds and concerts and things.
Right.
He had the lifestyle that went with it, so most of them did back then. So.
Yep. So yeah. I mean, I enjoyed that movie. I'm trying to think of like a standout moment, that would like showcase Winona, but I really can't think of one because Dennis Quaid really just kind of stole the show with just his over-the-top antics of being Jerry Lee.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost as if Winona didn't have a chance really to really shine in that movie against the big presence that was Jerry Lee. In this case it was just Dennis Quaid playing Jerry Lee, but still. It's like everyone else is just kind of really taking a backseat to that kind of thing. It's like watching the Doors, Jim Morrison. That's your focal point. Everyone else is just kind of going along for the ride.
Well, yeah, they're side characters, and no matter how much of a interest or importance they were at the time, it's not going to be something that catches your attention.
Right.
Immediately, you'll be like, oh, let's focus on the main character. Unless, you use both sides of your brain and you go, oh, well, let's see what this person has to say. Which doesn't happen very often in my head. So but honestly, I'm looking at the cast here and I didn't know who a lot of these people were till I get down to Alec Baldwin, and he plays Jimmy Swaggart.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, holy Moses, I would watch that just to see him play Jimmy Swaggart because OMG, we pretty much know what happened to him. To see him before Jimmy Swaggart.
Yeah, his role in that one is basically trying to tame Jerry Lee. Be the voice of reason and be the
Jimmy Cricket.
Well, I don't think the scripture would be appreciative of you of all this rock and roll, cousin, and you've got to be whatever it was, and So, but yeah, Alec did a good job in that movie too.
He usually does. I've liked him in quite a few things. He's just gotten better with age. With everything that he's done with 30 Rock, and now he's on SNL, and I don't know. He's had a very lucrative career, and of course his family's antics are nothing to sneeze at either. So the Baldwin brothers.
I keep thinking of him on Saturday Night Live when he was on the Delicious Dish. Did you ever see that?
Oh, didn't they just did that?
Did they redo that?
No.
Oh.
It's 10 best skits from Saturday Night Live.
Oh, that had to be one of them.
It was the Sweaty Balls.
Yeah, Sweaty Balls.
Sweaty Balls. And the ladies, they were doing the NPR broadcast. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was in a watchmojo.com or something like that. But yeah, I just saw that the other day and it brought it back because I had forgotten all about it. And I thought, how did they manage to shoot this sketch without laughing? There is just no way I could say any of that. All those innuendos would have just, they must have been on like Valium or something because that was just like, did you realize what you just said? OMG!
I really think that we gotta try doing a show like that. Just talking like them.
Oh, the NPR people.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't know. I think I just normally put people to sleep anyway.
Well, I know I do. So, but.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, sweaty balls. I love that part. All right. So anyway, yeah, we're off Winona Ryder here. So
yeah, way off topic. Let's get back.
Yeah.
Reel it back in.
So Heathers.
Heathers. OMG. Yeah. This is gonna sound so weird. I love you, Dave. I really do.
Okay.
And I love the fact that I'm able to be a co-host on some of the best icon series that 80's Reboot Overdrive has to offer. When this movie came out, for some reason, it just did not. I don't know why. It was one of those things. I just read it and I went, I don't know. I'll watch this. And I think it was like 10 years later that I saw it somewhere. I don't know if I bought it, somebody lent it to me, my son had it, I don't know. And I sat down and then I watched it and I went, oh, holy crap. What in the world? They've taken Mean Girls to a new height.
Yeah.
But Mean Girls had come out already past that. So this is like Mean Girls, the prequel. And, yeah, this movie was intense. Seriously intense. I'd never seen anything like it before. And I thought, wow, I don't even know if I could pretend to be that hateful. But good grief, these girls were off the chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, this movie's a great one. It's tough for me to like pick it apart, but I mean, Winona did awesome in it. And then, you know, obviously Christian Slater, Shannon Doherty, those guys were just beyond just crazy. So
yeah, and I truthfully believe that. See, because I never was privy to anything like that in high school. I never had friends like that.
Right.
And acquaintances that, you know, I'd walk by and like, good morning, like, hello, you know, fake people, and, you know, keep going. But, never, you know, but I heard stories. I mean, and I didn't hear stories like this, but, you know, I heard stories about people that, you know, their families had money and they were very popular, and it was like the more popular you were, the more status you had, the more clout you would get in college. And, you know, it was like this whole thing that people, you know, adhered to, you know, just to set their course in life. It was so bizarre. And I thought, why are you going to go through all that trouble? But apparently it's worth it. I don't know. They all died, unfortunately, but, you know, maybe not to them. I don't think this is a regular thing that happens, but, you know, I do have to go back to the, you know, cheerleader murders, but that's like another kettle of fish. But yeah, these girls definitely had a lot going for them, but common sense apparently wasn't one of them.
Yeah, it's very akin to what, you know, something Charlie keeps bringing up on GammaCast, where it seems like every solution to the problem is, well, let's just kill him.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, let's not even try to rationalize or try to, you know, make things better, talk it out, nothing like that. That's not even a solution. Let's just kill them. It's like, come on. You know, so yeah, it seems weird that, you know, this is, you know, a 80's movie that was kind of the solution for things, but
right. But yeah, it was, and then, you know, they were teenagers too, so the heightened extremities of everything that goes on in their life, everything is like either majorly wonderful or majorly fantastic. There's no gray areas. So, you know, it's just like, yeah, okay, well, we can't get her to do what we want. Kill her. Okay, solves that problem. But I do, and it's so weird because I have to say this. I was looking at the actresses that played in the Heathers besides, Winona Ryder. And, well, she actually wasn't a Heather, was she? She was
Veronica.
She was Veronica. But the three Heathers, Shannon Doherty, Lisanne Falk, and Kim Walker. Apparently Kim Walker is no longer with us. Literally. She passed away in 2001 at the age of 32.
I'm sorry, Scott was distracting me. I don't know why he's doing that, but okay. I should stick to the topic at hand, Dave.
I'm ignoring him.
Well,
does he want to come in? Does he want to jump in? And
I think so.
Well, let him in.
Well, he's typing. Well, he says in a second. He says he's got he thinks he's got his microphone problem fixed. But if we can actually kind of wrap this one up and then get him in.
Okay, but I do want you to comment on what I just said, though.
Okay, I'm sorry. Give that to me again.
Kim Walker, one of the main Heathers. She's like literally no longer with us.
She is no longer with us.
Yeah, she passed away in 2001, at the age of 32.
Oh, that is way too young.
Los Angeles, California. I'm just going to go through the bio real quick.
Okay, I'd forgotten she was in Say Anything, and now I remember her as Sheila.
Yeah. She had a brain tumor. So, yeah. So it's a shame. But she had a really good performance, though. I mean, I pretty much believed her when she was quite a meanie. Quite the mean person.
There was a TV series of The Outsiders. I didn't even know that.
Oh. I didn't know that either. Was it like an ongoing series type thing?
Yeah, like from it was made in 1990.
Okay.
And she was Sherry Valance.
Was she?
Yeah.
Wow. Now, isn't that kind of a switcheroony there?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, good for her.
32 is way too young, though. Jeez.
Yeah, poor thing. She had a brain tumor, so there's never, I don't know. Sometimes you can live with those. Sometimes they can take them out, and then sometimes you just,
Right.
Yeah. So bless her heart. But, yeah.
All right, so I think we talked through her stuff in the 80s, and as we tend to do in, talking through the icons, is we like to pick on some of the latter day stuff.
Always.
Yeah, and we have fun with that. And there's something that really jumps out at me is a movie called Girl Interrupted.
Oh, okay.
You remember that one?
I remember it's like it never happened.
She's admitted into a psych ward, and then she's Angelina Jolie is the the horrible influence to her.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of got this, Winona Ryder's character's kind of got this edge about her, but at the same time, she's on the borderline between, being closer to normal than the others.
Right.
So you kind of relate to her in some ways, but then she does stupid crap. So, and this is kind of the enigma that was the character, but she did really well. She's really believable as this person that was kind of on that edge that, given the right influence of these other people, she could be swayed either way, from going really just over the edge crazy to being closer to normal, as close as she could possibly get.
Right.
And so she pulled it off. She pulled off that role really well.
That's awesome. I've been told that this is a really good movie.
Yeah.
I just never saw it. It was right around that time when I wasn't really doing a whole lot of movie watching, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so then it ended up changing later on, and I had to do whatever. Had to get my life back in order, so.
Okay. Well, movies were a priority. I got it.
Yeah, so it got kind of askew there for a bit, but she had quite the magical appeal in the 90s.
Yeah.
For me, I mean,
Reality Bites was another good one.
Yes. I personally liked her. I liked her in Little Women. I liked her strong characters. And she played, such a great role for her in Little Women in 1994. And then, of course, Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Edward Scissorhands, yeah.
How many times I've seen that movie, but it always amazes me every time I see it. And it's got a kind of a soft spot because it was Vincent Price's last movie. So, yeah. And I love me some Vincent Price. Loved it. And then, of course, Mermaids. That's one of my daughter's favorites. She liked that. And that's got her and Christina Ricci and, of course, the amazing Cher. So, and then, of course, Bob, Mr. Face, Bob.
Yeah, Mermaids was not on my watch list.
Well, and it had Hoskins. I almost said Costas because my husband's watching football right now in the living room. I'm like, no, he wasn't in it. He's been in movies, but he wasn't in this one. But then Bram Stoker's Dracula is probably what a lot of people remember her for.
Oh, yeah.
In the 90s, because that was an amazing movie. And never before had I seen a more intimidating Dracula since Bela Lugosi. I can honestly say that.
Yeah.
With all candor. I appreciate Christopher Lee's Dracula. I really do. I think it was, I want to use the word appropriate, but I think it was good for the 70s. I think it brought people out of kind of like the dark ages that wanted a bit more zing to their Dracula. But it took them a while to finally get to this one. And, Gary Oldman just hit it out of the park. And I couldn't imagine anybody else more amazing to be at his side than Mina, played by Winona.
Yeah, I don't know what it was about that movie and that version of Dracula, but if there was a Dracula, I guess that was kind of more of a believable Dracula, and right. I don't know if I can, I mean, it's a fictional character, I get it, but if we were to put that aside and we were to say, if we could drop kind of the pretty boy image of Dracula, and somebody that just was evil incarnate, and it was regardless of how he looked. That's what that movie did, and it was just like, yeah, that's Dracula.
Right. There. Sums it up perfectly.
And I know that you and I have been kind of geeking out back and forth about Stranger Things and how good she's in. Winona Ryder is in that.
Amazing.
She is just so utterly amazing in Stranger Things.
Yeah, she's if she doesn't get an Emmy for that performance, heads will roll. Heads will literally roll. I am not kidding, because that is just, yeah.
Yeah, just everything about that. I mean, as people, that, maybe listen to us on a regular basis realize that, it takes a little while for me to jump on the bandwagon of things. But, I come around. And, when I finally sat down and committed myself to watching Stranger Things, and of course it's not like it's a hard sell because it's, it's just right smack dab in the beauty of the 80's. So, there's a lot of good background stuff and a lot of things going on there that just go, yeah, this is the good stuff. This is, this is an 80's love fest as much as it is, but it's, put in with a it's in essence a horror type of series. For lack of a better way of putting it, almost science fiction / horror. But to put Winona right smack dab in it and give her the character of this mother that would just do anything.
Mm-hmm.
She sold that.
She sold it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Whatever you need me to do, I need to go into this other, world in order to get my boy back.
Exactly.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wasn't going to rest until he was safe.
Right.
Do you ever, as an 80s host, as an 80s lover, as an 80s, I don't know, connoisseur, I suppose, do you ever look at things like Stranger Things and Ready Player One and the Goldbergs and stuff like that? Do you ever look at stuff and go, you're welcome? Because you pimped the 80s on the internet for so long, and it's like you wore them down. There's times when I'll look at stuff and it will be just completely devoid of my attention, and then somehow, oh, they're using an 80s song. Oh, they've got an 80s motif to this. Oh, they've got this 80s. You're welcome. I say that. I really do. And it's just, I know there's other people out there, that carry the same weight that, you and I do, some of them even more. But I don't know. Sometimes I get a little full of myself and I go, I did that. I totally did that.
I guess I'm probably more on the realistic mindset as far as that goes, because I realize that being, the age that I am, I'm assuming that there's people that are in the, the movie industry, or it's in the TV industry, that have now graduated to the decision maker status.
Right.
And, I think that, our generation, we tend to, we're going to put something in that we enjoy. And we're hopeful that there's others that are going to enjoy it too.
Absolutely.
But, it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to throw this Clash song into this, Stranger Things thing just because, I could slap it in there. Because I love the song. Because I love the band. And, I think that's what's happening. I think the decision makers, in this case, whether it was the Duffy brothers for Stranger Things, or if it's, whoever's the person that's in charge of making the, those kind of decisions for that series, or the Goldbergs, or whatever, they've now graduated to that where they're like, somebody gave them the power to make those decisions to go, just give me a good product, and they're going to go, well, a good product is going to be something I enjoy. And, what I related to, and it was actually something that I thought was kind of comical, was, I think I mentioned it before on the podcast, but I play music during my son's hockey game, during like the break and plays and the period breaks. And one of the sound clips that I have is like a musical clip from Ghostbusters.
Sweet.
And, it's like, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters or whatever. It's only for a few seconds. But what I was told that, from one of the parents that heard one of the other parents from the opposing team talking, and, was like, why would they be playing Ghostbusters? These kids don't even know, that movie. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why wouldn't I be playing Ghostbusters?
Exactly.
Because I think it's cool. And, the parents that are paying attention to the music, the ones that are sitting, have their butts in the seats, those are really the ones I'm playing the music for. All I'm trying to do is have it upbeat for the kids.
Right.
But, I'm going to have fun with it. So you're going to get Ghostbusters, or you're going to get the theme song from Knight Rider, or you're going to get, Ice Ice Baby,
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. If you're going to come to my show, that's what you're going to hear.
Exactly.
If you don't like it, then I'm sorry. Then tune in somewhere else.
Exactly. I got one more thing to say, and we can wrap it up.
Okay.
My grandson went shopping with me the other day, and he's 11, and he's really starting to feel his nerd. He, is really into video games, and he's extremely smart, and he told me, he says, Grandma, he's
nice.
just really, he's reveling in the fact that, this is who he's going to be. And he doesn't, he wears it proudly. And I told him, I said, good. I says, well, there's different facets to being who you are later on that defines who you are. So I said, so basically when we're on our way to the store, I said, first of all, we're changing it from Uncle Willie's depressing country music, and we're going to put on some 80's tunes. He goes, because you like the 80's, right, Grandma? I said, yeah, but there's a lot of history to learn from the 80's. And he's like, okay. He says, I'll pay attention. I'm like, good. So we're driving along, and he's, listening. I think Loverboy came on or something, and somebody else came on, and he was like, who's that? And I tell him, and he's like, oh, okay, that's cool. And we're going to Starbucks, and we get to Starbucks, and the opening for Bohemian Rhapsody comes on. And just pull up in the parking lot, and I turn the car off. And the radio's still going. He goes, are we getting out? I'm like, shh. This is one of those moments I'm supposed to pay attention to. I said, yes. Okay. So we literally sat in the car, motionless, silent, listening, to He, it was Freddie Mercury.
Nice.
So at the end of the song, he's like, that kind of sounded familiar, Grandma. Who was that? I said, that was Queen. He goes, is that the name of the person? I said, no, it's the name of the band. He says, they do other stuff too. Uncle Willie was telling me about that once. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, this is a really good song. It's almost like an opera. I'm like, yes, it's probably one of the best rock operas ever written. And he went, wow. And Freddie Mercury, is he like really awesome? I'm like, he was really awesome, yes. This is still one of the greatest singers that ever lived. Musician, you name it. Is he like in the top 10? I'm like, I don't know. Some people would put him in the top 5. He goes, Michael Jackson? And I'm like, he's up there with Michael Jackson. Some people would argue that, he should be better. But, semantics.
Right.
He goes, what about that other guy that sings and plays the guitar? I'm like, Gigi, you just mentioned like 5 million musicians, honey. Gonna need a name. But that's just it. He's only got one name. I can't think of it right now. Elvis? Yeah. Is he great like Elvis? I said, some would say he was greater. And he's like, wow. I was just like, regardless of whether I was right or wrong, I wanted him to understand, that there are things in life that you need to just soak in and just let it, just let it run over you and then go, I appreciate this. This is awesome. Because I said, the stuff that you guys are listening to now, I says, don't get me started, but, I don't know if in 40 years people will be going, man, that Taylor Swift, I'm telling you, she is an icon. And he looked at me and goes, what? Like, I'm just an example there. Don't beat me. Don't beat me up. But I just wanted him to, it's like you can't actually accept who you are and be who you are without appreciating the finer things that go along with it. I said, self-respecting. He goes, okay. So yeah, I don't know if that's going to stay with him for a while, but I wanted to make sure he knew that, because I think this is how we have to teach them. You know, like the people from now, like the people you were saying, your generation, are the people that are making the decisions now, are the people that, you know, write for the Psych show, you know, the series Psych. You can't blink. You can't go from one episode to the next without seeing an 80s reference or having one of the musicians or TV icons or, you know, musical icons on in reference to any of them.
Right.
You know, so somebody, whoever writes that, you know, even including the characters that play Sean and Gus, you know, have an affinity for the 80s. And it's all comes back to us. So yeah, I'm totally taking credit for that.
So your response would be, "You're welcome."
Yes.
Sweet. All right. So to wrap up this conversation about Winona, do you have any final thoughts about Winona Ryder in the 80s?
I just appreciated her for her versatility. She, to me, was never the same character twice. Of the movies that I saw, and then, you know, later on, she definitely had done her homework. You know, she, you know, either studied under some really, you know, good teachers, had a good mentor, learned a lot, you know, being so young in Hollywood, and, you know, knew her and honed her craft. I think that's why we have who she is now. You know, because she was paying attention.
No, I definitely see what you're saying, and I couldn't agree with you more. Because every movie that we talk through, she was different. She was so different from the previous character.
Mm-hmm.
You know, be it, you know, the emo type girl from Beetlejuice to, you know, the nerdy band girl that I talked about in Lucas. You know, just everything in between. You know, she was just, you know, she epitomized every one of those roles that she was in, and she was believable as those, you know, characters.
Right.
And I think, you know, she's been definitely honing her craft throughout the years, and, you know, I hope that, you know, what we got from her with Stranger Things is just more to come.
Me too.
Yeah. So so that's my final thought.
Awesome.
And also just to, you know, to go back into the sidetrack story that you were sharing, I just want to thank you, Rose, from the bottom of my heart for giving me the image of a grandmother sitting with her grandson in a car outside of a Starbucks and using Bohemian Rhapsody as a teachable moment.
Nice.
That image is just fantastic. I wasn't there, but just you telling me that story, I was like, that's awesome. That is just really, I love that. Absolutely love it.
Thank you.
So, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
All right, so social media credentials, Rose. How do people find you?
Oh my goodness. You take Highway 90. No, I'm just kidding.
Turn off the paved road.
Yeah. Go through a cornfield.
You see a broken tractor, make a left. Right.
I am at 80's Music Girl on Twitter, 80's Music Girl on Facebook, and 80's Music Girl on Instagram.
Cool. And I am Dave, once again. Take care of our 80s Reboot accounts, and on Twitter that's at 80s Reboot, 80sreboot.tumblr.com, facebook.com/80s Reboot. Our email is 80sreboot@gmail.com, and we also have a blog, which is southgatemediagroup.com/80s Reboot blog. And then there's one other tidbit of little thing that we want you to do, very important, but Rose is going to tell you about that.
Yes, I found out yesterday, everyone, lovely people, thank you all so much. for contributing your ratings and reviews on our iTunes account. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're up to 52 last time. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's not the 100 that I was shooting for, but that's okay because I was overshooting and I was trying to get us to 50. So I have a tendency to do that with my blogs when I ask for people to, go that extra mile and give me 50 and they give me 75 and I was really only looking for 20. But, it's just one of those things. You get people motivated and we know you love us. We know you appreciate what we're doing here because we've got so many people out there that appreciate what we do and they love the podcast and, they love the blogs and each one of us get visited on our Twitter page and we have like amazing people that really stand out. Uptown Girl 79 regales me at least 3 times a week with something that has to do with either an 80s movie or a TV show or a commercial. She's just really, really into it. I appreciate her a lot. The 80s Girl 216, she's another one. Tristan Lofting, he's an amazing person that follows me, both of us actually, on Twitter.
We get a lot of great interaction with Tristan, yeah.
And these are all seriously dedicated 80s fanatics, and we love each and every one of them. And we want you all to be like that too. We want you to be maniacal about the 80s. So listen to the podcast, give us your input. If you have stuff that you've been hiding away in the archives with some great 80s stories, and we want to hear them. Maybe you want to get on the podcast. If we get 10 extra reviews this week on the podcast, we will choose one of you that added that 10th from 1 to 10. We'll choose one of you to be on our podcast.
Love it.
How's that?
That's perfect.
I love it too. Great.
All right, outstanding. So, like I said before, though, if you've even given us a rating review already, but you have like a friend that has their phone and you see them using their phone, just say, hey, let me borrow your phone for a minute and write another review for us. It's not going to hurt things.
No,
it's not like we're cheating the system. It's just giving more, feedback to us, and then also, trying to get the awareness, for the 80s Love Fest that we're trying to, promote, amongst people. And the higher we get up in iTunes, the easier that is to happen. So we appreciate everybody doing that with us and reliving the 80s, and have a great whatever.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you've enjoyed this show. This podcast is part of the 80s Reboot Overdrive channel on Southgate Media Group. You can follow us on Facebook on the 80s Reboot group page. We're also on Twitter and Tumblr at 80s Reboot. We invite you to check out all the wonderful podcasts and blogs available at southgatemediagroup.com. And thank you for reliving the 80s.
See, you say that stuff so much better than me, Rose.
Oh, I'm just trying to, it's like talking to kids, you just gotta give them a carrot, You gotta really kind of pump them up, give them a carrot and tell them they're awesome. Pretty much.
Well, I mean, they all are.
I should have been a marketer. I think I missed my calling in life.
Yeah,
I really do.
But I mean, every one of them, though. I mean, all those great, all those things that you met, all those people you mentioned, mean, they have the same love affair with the 80s that we do.
Yeah, they do.
And just
they
like
just don't think about it in the same way. They don't think about it like we do.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing to commit a little bit of time for a tweet, or something like that, but then it's a whole nother thing to put something out there.
Right.
Tangible. Yeah, and which is the blogs or the podcasts. So, when we hook into people like the people that we did the crossover event for, those are other people that are putting something out there that wasn't out there before. And, it's just super awesome. It's, is the only way I can describe it. It's just awesome that whenever we can hook into that kind of thing and share with each other.
when I was trying to, get my feet wet with, social media and all that, I was on MySpace first, and I couldn't decide what I wanted to do with my MySpace page. So I just pimped it out with 80s stuff because I knew I loved the 80s. And all my blogs were pretty much written about, 80s icons, musicians, whatnot. It was more geared towards 80s music. And I had that page for probably about 4 years before I started on Twitter, because that was like the next biggest thing.
Right.
And so I've been doing this for like 10 years now. Pimping the 80s. Probably even longer if you talk to some people that knew me way back when. But, we don't talk about the 90s. That kind of was like it was a little bit of we don't talk about that. But, yeah. So it honestly started in 2000, and then it just, progressed ever since. So, yeah, when I say fanatic, I'm serious. I'm just using it because it's a nice adverb or whatever you call it. I mean it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, it's just, it's very cool that whenever we're, just doing something to share, to share, our feelings, around these subjects with everybody.
Yeah.
And people seem to respond. So I just really, I dig that. I really,
yeah.
I love the fact that when even if we do something wrong, or we say something wrong, or we forget something on one of the shows, and somebody calls us out on it. I mean, I love that feedback.
I wish they would.
Yeah.
Because there's been so many times that I've said the stupidest crap, and just, it wasn't trying to be funny. It's just that, my brain just misfires sometimes, and I just forget who I'm talking about, or I go on these rants, about, do I know this? Was that person? And, poor Jesse, he was unfortunately privy to a lot of those when we were doing the Grammys, because I just recently just kind of started, like, I always felt it was cheating going to like IMDb or Wikipedia or something like that. I was kind of relying on my own memory to, regale some of the highlights of 80s music in the Grammys. And finally, I just couldn't do it anymore. It was just like, man, and he's like always Johnny on the spot. He's got this and he knows this. And I'm just like, how are you doing that? He's like, oh, I've got Wikipedia open. I'm like, what? You didn't tell me I could do that. And he's like, well, yeah, I thought that's what I'm like, shit, no. This is like pure brain power, lack of it. Well, so the fact that, he got that really horrible review that one time, felt so bad for him. It was just like, I sound way worse than that. Where are you picking up for Jesse? That was terrible. And it wasn't even for anything that he and I did together. It was something that he did with another, co-host talking about Bruce Springsteen. And I thought, man, that was terrible.
I remember him posting that, and I was just like, that is rough, but I guess if you were to look at it that, it's like, it's feedback, you know, but at the same time, I don't want to, I gotta hope that there's nobody that's feeling that way about what we're doing.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. If somebody were to give that feedback, I'm like, I don't know how to take it. I don't know if I would be like, all right, well, that's, that's an opinion. Somebody's, you're entitled to that opinion. I can say that now, but if I, after everything that we've put into the show, and somebody were to give that to me now, I don't know, maybe I'd feel differently. I'd be like, I would take it, to heart. You know? I don't know.
I don't think you would. Honestly, Dave, I think you're tougher than what you realize. I truthfully think that you would take that as a teachable moment.
I would hope so.
I really do. I know so.
Okay.
Because you're that grounded.
But I mean, I would share it, because I think that,
absolutely, you would share it.
Yeah.
Because that's just who you are.
Right.
You would share it because You're presenting it as a teachable moment.
Right. And I guess I've built my, my career as that kind of thing, as, that kind of manager where I'd be like, all right, well, here's where I've messed up in the past, and this is what I learned from it. And then what I'm trying to do is get it so that others don't make those same kind of problems, those same kind of errors. So I guess if there's something that we're doing on the podcast that is like that, then I do want to know it. It's better to know it. And then that way it's like, all right, well then that's my teachable moment, and that's something that I can share with others. That I don't know. Yeah. At least that's how I believe I would take it. But, obviously it's a labor of love for us, to do this. And, negative criticism or, harsh criticism would be a tough pill to swallow, I think.
Mm-hmm. It would.
But it'd still be medicine.
Definitely.